Suzanne's Paparazzi Jewelry, 24/7 shopping available. 160920 is the code. Show her some love, like she showed us.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to On Deck on this October 7th. Can you believe it's already October? I'm here, of course, with Chris B. Bacon. How are you, Chris?
Doing good. Not too bad. Playoffs are here. A lot of sports going on. But it's the playoffs in baseball, and that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, it's amazing. Of course, my name is James. You can follow me on all of these platforms right here. Man, since we're talking MLB, of course, we first we have to talk about the wild card series, and I think after that we have to figure out if it should be just a one game playoff like it was. But let's start with the Rangers and Rays. They started, of course, this week. Every game started, Tuesday, Wednesday, and that was it. The Rangers won the first game 4-0. Then they won the game 7-1 on Wednesday there. Tuesday was 4-0. The game 1 again too. This never felt like a series, and it felt like the Rays were missing a lot. The Rangers were in command the whole series. It felt like there was never a point where you felt like the Rays had any command or any fight, not fight, but any leadership in this series. It just felt like the Rangers overpowered the Rays. Texas hits well enough to get through this series. Now the Rays, they had a bunch of injuries. A third of their rotation is injured, of course. The Wander Franco situation, the other injuries that happened. But man, you would have thought the Rays would have done something. And then the home crowd didn't even show up. And granted, yes, it was 3 and 3:30 in the afternoon, where people are at work, where people are at, kids are at school, and you just figure, okay, it's going to be a decent crowd though. First game was under 20,000. It's the least since 1919, if you can believe that. And that was Game 7 of the World Series in 1919, where there was just under 20,000 there. But remember, ballparks weren't built as they are now in capacity numbers. It's really unfortunate where the ballpark is too.
It is.
It's out. It's so many minutes away from the actual fan base, and they're talking about staying in St. Pete, where nobody's gonna still come over from that bridge from the Tampa area. So it's a really bad situation that could linger on. So I know Chris, you're a Rangers fan. How did you feel about this wild card series? Yeah. Like, were you felt good probably?
I did feel good, but like you said, it wasn't a series. Series to me is 3-4 games maybe. I mean, I'm glad we won. It felt good to win. Haven't been like that in a while in the playoffs. But I feel like they need to change something up with it. Maybe make it a 4-game series. You have to win 3 to get in, to advance to the next round. But they have to do something. I don't know. But I'm happy for them, and we'll see if this continues here in, I don't know, about an hour or so.
We'll I guess get to that question now, because the one question I had was thinking like, hey, should we put that as just a 1-game playoff like it used to be, or a 3-game series like it is now? You're saying you want more.
Well, I don't know. I'm okay with the 1-game series like you had before, but if you're making it a series, wild card series, I think you need at least 4 games.
I don't want more just based on what happened
You're like,
here.
I like baseball, but no more.
I mean, we'll get to the other series right now, but it's like, dang, they didn't even last long. Like it almost felt like a waste of time.
Yeah. Hey, we're gonna watch 2 games of baseball before the real playoffs start.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. So the other series in the American League was the Toronto Blue Jays and the Minnesota Twins. Now Minnesota won 3-1 game 1. Royce Lewis, this dude, pretty much had never heard of him, but he went out, he belted some home runs. Second game, he was really influential. They won game 2, 2-0. It was bad because the Blue Jays analytical people told their manager John Schneider to take out the starter at the time, Jose Barrios, and he was only at 47 pitches, I think. He was going great. He was going into the, I believe, 4th inning, and he was doing so well. And all of a sudden, they take him out. Everybody's confused. Everybody's really, really pissed off. And I was too. I was sitting there like, what the hell is going on? Like, he's doing so well, and then you tax your bullpen basically, and you lose the game 2-0, and you lose the series 2-0. It's just one of those parts of baseball. You want to keep the analytical stuff away, and you just want to go with your gut feeling at the time. And then for Minnesota, first of all, again with the Blue Jays, it felt like they didn't hit enough. They didn't run the bases well. Like Correa had that great play to throw home to get a runner out in the first game. In the second game, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. got picked off at second base in a key situation. I don't know why he's, I don't think he was paying attention, basically. I really don't. But that was just really a really bad series played by the Blue Jays in a way. I guess not as bad as the Rays. But the Jays, it felt like all year long they had something missing. I mean, they went out and got pieces at the deadline. They figured they had everything. Everybody's pretty much healthy, ready to go for the series at least. For the Twins, shout out Big B's Twins.
Yeah.
They out hit the Jays. They pitched very well. I mean, it's an underrated pitching staff they really have. Their closer coming in, Duran, throwing 101, and it was odd to see too in game 2, if you recall, he had the blister issue, I believe. He was bleeding actually, like in between the thumb. I don't know, in between the thumb or something. He was bleeding there, so he had to get checked out just before he was going to make his first pitches in the 9th inning. But he got the save; it went fine. So the Twins move on right away. What did you think of that series?
I think it was an interesting series. I'm glad Minnesota advanced, but Adam Barber saying what's destroying analytics or what's destroying the game with analytics.
You bet.
Yeah. And then the Rays couldn't hit. You're saying that too. But no, I liked the series. It was a good series. Toronto just had a bunch of struggle this year, and I think that's what hurt them a little bit. And it's always so rough to have a starting pitcher and then them doing so well, and they're like, oh, we're going to pull you out of the game. In those opportune times where you're being successful.
It kind of reminded me of Crispy Bacon. Remember the World Series in 2020? When the Rays took out Blake Snell and he was doing pretty well against the Dodgers.
Oh, yeah.
And everybody was kind of shocked, like, what the hell's going on? And literally, this is what the future is, and I hate it. Okay, let's go to the National League wild card, and maybe a surprising series, the way it ended. The Diamondbacks in Milwaukee to face the Brewers. The first game was 6-3. And figured, okay, Milwaukee's going to come back and do fine. But then they lose by the same amount, 5-2, in Game 2 and get swept by Arizona. Arizona, they're not a power hitting team, although they did show some of it in this series. But I think it was a shock that Milwaukee lost the way it did. They kind of petered out. People I know were saying, because either you agree with it or not, they played that series against the Cubs, basically knocked out the Cubs in that way. The last week of the last series of the regular season, they come into the wild card, series just like this and lose. Arizona, they sewed up their playoff spot on Saturday, so they had to play to get in, basically. Arizona, again, they don't have a lot of power, but they will hit home runs. But they will still, once they get on base, they will walk, they will grab extra bases. They field very well for a young team, and they have some great horses there in the rotation. The bullpen, Seawald. But I don't know with Milwaukee. I know they lost Woodruff, one of their starters. But they still had Corbin Burns, the other starters, and a really good bullpen. But I don't know. Something just went awry for the Brewers, and it kind of felt like, man. Again, I had St. Louis winning that division. It would have been the Cardinals, but man, Milwaukee was there, just didn't feel right. So, what do you think about that series in the NL with Arizona and Milwaukee?
Both really good teams. I feel like Arizona's, I wouldn't say Cinderella, but they're kind of that team diamond in the rough kind of thing, where you almost want to see them, succeed if your team's not in it or not in that specific league. But I mean, both teams had a good season. It's just that in 2 games, Arizona, they did better. In last few seasons, they just weren't successful. Now they had a good run at it so far, and maybe that will continue.
Right. If we have any other comments, feel free to read them out.
Yeah.
The other National League Wildcard Series was really no contest. The Phillies defeating the Marlins 2-0 in the series. All the series are sweeps basically. Philadelphia won 4-1 first game, and the second game the Phillies won 7-1. That crowd, let me tell you, total opposite of the Rays series. They love their Phillies, and they have their favorites. It was great seeing the atmosphere when the hitters hit home runs. That crowd went crazy, and I guess we'll get more into it because the Phillies advanced, but we'll talk about that when that comes up about the DS series.
It was also the most expensive ticket out of the playoff games.
I can see that though. The Phillies, for so many years, they didn't make the playoffs until last year. I think it was 2011, and then they made the playoffs last year. So fans have been waiting for this for a long, long time. The postseason success, the consistency. So yeah, fans are wanting to go out. They'll do anything to get a ticket, possibly. But that atmosphere was great for Miami. They were running into a juggernaut. I felt like. I know Miami has lost some of their starters. They lost Sandy Alcantara for all of next season too, with a surgery. So it's really unfortunate because he's one of their best starters, probably the best. But they have others that are gone. Their offense wasn't going to do enough. I know they showed some glimpses, but shout out to Luis Ariz for getting the batting title, hitting 371, I believe, or 369 or
Oh
7.
wow.
You don't see that. You don't see anybody hitting
Mm-mm.
that high for a season. And if you do, it's rare. So it's great to see that. I'm really happy about that. So what do you think about this Philadelphia series that was no contest?
Yeah, it's no contest. I mean, there was, but it was a sweep. Every game was a sweep, pretty much. Uh, Glad to see Philly back in the postseason. Been a while. I mean, it's only been 2 seasons they've been in it, but it's been a while since they've had a little streak again, and maybe this is good for the sport. See Philly back into it, but I think hopefully the rest of the playoff matchups are better than what these were, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. So that'll lead us to the divisional series. Now, unfortunately, Crispy Bacon, I've turned on the television. I looked up at all of the apps and everything. We will
Yeah.
have a delayed start in Baltimore, Maryland, between the Texas Rangers and the Baltimore Orioles.
By how much?
What was it?
By how long?
They don't say, and that's usually a bad thing, Could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, which will mess up everybody else's schedule today, But I guess we'll start with that series in the AL. It says game will start in delay. There's rain, so that's basically all there is.
There's thunder and lightning. Okay.
Play that too. Yeah. I don't think everybody's gonna put a dome over everything. I know that. You can't
No, but one
possibly
day
do
we'll get
that.
there. I mean,
You would think so. Like somehow, I'm trying to figure this out. Like how they would do it. They would just basically put a canopy over the stadium, a big canopy, or you could have like something attached to the stadium and just have it go over.
Just copy the Rangers a little bit.
Yeah, or the Blue Jays, where you could open the roof, you could close the roof, basically.
Yeah.
Up in Toronto, but yeah, Toronto Texas and Baltimore. It's pretty much the kids against the vets in a way.
Who's the vets?
The vets somewhat is the Rangers. I know they have a young talent, but they have Simeon, they have Seager.
Yeah, but we haven't been since 2016.
Mm-hmm. No, I was talking about your roster basically.
Okay,
If Scherzer pitches, oh no, yeah, the combination of each team.
I got you.
If Scherzer pitches, I think he'll pitch in the bullpen. He'll be that Madison Bumgarner style pitcher, I guess, for Texas. And then and think about the Rangers. They led the league in all the offensive categories. They have possibly 2 MVP candidates in the American League. Baltimore, they did it. Yeah, they had the power. They had the solid hitting. They're really going to miss Felix Bautista, their closer. That's really going to hurt them late in the game. That's going to be a problem. We know the Rangers bullpen, they've had their issues though.
They do good and then they struggle. They do good and they struggle. Let's be consistent.
And I wonder when we'll see Chapman again and how he'll perform in the postseason. We know that he's had some issues in the past in the postseason. Right. For me, I want to pick Baltimore. I don't know. But if Texas outslugs them, they're going to win. Game 1 starters, you have Andrew Heaney. I know him from the Angels, of course. Really up and down pitcher. Kyle Bradish will be the starter for the Orioles. He is 12-7. Heaney's 10-6. So I think maybe that was because of the offense of the Rangers scoring him enough runs. He definitely didn't get that in Anaheim. So that's the game one starters there. I guess we'll do that for each game today. We'll say the starters. But how do you see this series going? I'm going to pick the Orioles just to be safe. But how do you see this series going?
Yeah, I'm gonna pick Baltimore too. I've heard some things that make Baltimore sound really scary as a team. That doesn't really bode well with the Rangers. So I'm kind of going like you on the safe side, but I think this is going to be a fun series. Playing down there in Baltimore most of the time, and I think a couple games are going to be here. They got the home field though, which is unfortunate, but should be a fun series overall. I'm excited. Hopefully, Rangers can pull off a few victories to win the series, but I don't know. I'm just a little scared about Baltimore. These things I'm hearing.
Yeah, they do everything well, but they're young. This is pretty much everybody's first playoff experience.
Yeah,
I mean, it's amazing to think that.
new
Yeah,
kids on the block, pretty much.
yeah. So the second series in the American League Divisional Series, you have the Minnesota Twins and the uh, Houston Astros. They'll be on a little bit after this Oriole or during that Oriole series. Bailey Ober, not Uber, but Ober will start for
He'll drive
the.
them to victory.
Yeah, there you go. He'll be the starter for Minnesota in Game 1. He's 8-6 this year. Justin Verlander will be the starter for the Astros in Game 1. You couldn't have anybody better, honestly. You really couldn't. He's 16-11 this year. Kind of a higher ERA. He did get to 230 strikeouts this season, so you know he's still good. 200 plus innings this year, so you know he's legit. For me, I think it's a 3 games. Well, damn, I want to say a 3-game sweep for Houston. I think they have the horses to do it. They have the offense, the pitching, the bullpen. It's great that they got Graveman back via trade again. I'm gonna say a 3-game sweep, but I hope Minnesota makes it a series. At least makes it a series. I really do. Like, give us at least one win at home, or try to steal a game in Houston. But I'm gonna say it's a sweep. How do you think this series goes?
I hope Minnesota wins in 4 games. I don't want Houston to win again. Divisional rivalry between Texas and Houston. I don't want that to happen. I'm pulling for Minnesota. Make it at least a 4-game series. That'd be great.
All right, let's go to the National League. The Phillies and the Braves. I mean, division rivals. Although the Braves won the division very handily there. Game 1 starters, you have Ranger Suarez. Remember, he had a great postseason last year as they went to the World Series. This year, he only started 5 games. He's 2-0, low stats all over. He's only just begun, the left-hander for Philadelphia. And then Spencer Strider. This dude, he's been really, really good. This year, he's 20-5 in the regular season. 281 strikeouts. That's way up there. Really, really good. Postseason, though, he's 0-1. So he did start last year sometime. This series seems to be interesting for me just because both atmospheres are really, really good. Both are baseball rich. Really, really good. Really, really, really good. I might I don't know. I'm tormented to think the Braves are going to win this series easy because look at what they've lost. They've lost some starters. I don't know if Max Fried will be available.
Yeah.
Charlie Morton probably won't be. Philly's coming in red hot. You know, they've played. The Braves have had the week off and maybe a little more than that because they already won their division. So I know they wanted to be cautious about, playing your starters at the end of the regular season when we have everything sewed up. For Philadelphia, they're coming in hot. You know, their their atmosphere, especially at home, is key. They might do the same thing last year. You know, in the championship series, how they beat San Diego. You start off there on the road, you take a game, and then you go to Philadelphia and you take care of business. And this is only a 5-game series.
Yeah.
All these series, by the way. I'm going with the upset. I'm going Philadelphia. The bullpen is suspect, I think, for the Braves. Iglesias, I know he's done well, but I don't know how he'll do this series. Philly has all the momentum, I feel like. And then all they need to do, basically, is still one game in Georgia. That's all they have to do. And then you come home, you rally around your crowd, and you win the series. If you're behind if the crowd's behind you, like they've been all year long, I'm going with Philadelphia, Chris. And I know a lot of people here won't like that, but I'm going Philadelphia. How do you think this series is going to go?
Oh man, I mean, they always say you have to be the best, you have to beat the best. I have to go with Atlanta here until I see something. Right now, they're the defending champs, and they have to show like it in the playoffs, and I think they will. I think Philadelphia will give them a run for their money, but that one should be a fun series too.
Yeah, I'm thinking it's just going to be in 4 games. Like, I'm thinking it'll end in Philly with the Phillies winning. Now the last series going on, the Dodgers hosting the Diamondbacks. Of course, the Diamondbacks coming off the series win against the Brewers in Milwaukee. The Dodgers having the days off just like the Braves had. Now, both have not announced their starters for Game 1. And I know LA, it'll probably be Kershaw, knowing them. But we'll see how that ends up today with the starters. But yeah, we have a quintuplet of games here, 4 games going on today. And then think about LA here. Check this out. You know, the traffic is always awful. You have a game at UCLA. And this is all around pretty much the same area with the traffic. Game at UCLA at the Rose Bowl. You have the Dodgers game, and then you have a USC game going on today. It's a busy Saturday, like you mentioned, with sports. And man, the traffic is going to be awful at the same time. All at the same time, basically ending and beginning these games. So something to look out for. Busy. It's always a busy October in LA when it comes to their teams, you know.
So Adam is saying it sucks that the Rangers left Sizier on the roster.
Oh
I don't know.
never mind.
I don't know if it does, because you're hopefully gonna have him back.
Yeah, if you win the series though.
Yeah, but they're saying if it goes to 3 games, like Game 3, which I think is that Tuesday this week, he's reportedly gonna pitch 1 or 2 innings.
Yeah, I know he was in the bullpen. I think in the second game, I want to say he was throwing.
Yeah, he
and
was doing. he was doing bullpen stuff.
I mean, at least he's out there. At least, you know, it's unfortunate the way he's been lately in the postseason. I mean, 2019 he was gold with Washington, but the other times we've seen him in the postseason, he's had a dead arm with LA in 21 against the Braves, where he was not available. Then he
Right.
struggled with the New York Mets last year in the wild card series. Now, we don't know if he's going to be available at all, honestly, if the arm's going to feel good enough to go out there. Fried will be, okay, thank you, Adam. Fried will be there in game 2, but Charlie Morton, my guess, would be out. That's really going to hurt, because I always liked Charlie Morton in a way because he literally mimicked the pitching motion of Roy Halladay when Morton was in Pittsburgh, and that led him to some success. I mean, he's been around forever now. Charlie Morton's, a veteran there. So yeah, thank you, Adam, for those notes. Getting back to Arizona LA series, I feel like LA is gonna sweep them.
Yeah.
But I hope Arizona gives them a good series. I'll tell you, I don't know. And what's unfortunate too, all those LA fans that are there, like Casey King in Arizona, they're gonna come out for that series in Arizona. All those LA fans, so that's gonna suck. But yeah, I hope the Diamondbacks give him a series, but I'm going with LA on this. Maybe in 4 games. How do you think this series is going to show out?
Unfortunately, I'm going LA too. Hopefully not in a sweep, but maybe in a competitive series. I think a lot of people, whether your team's in it or you're not, your team isn't in it, I think everybody just wants to see the Dodgers lose. Kind of like a lot of fans in the AL West want the Astros to lose. I think it's that kind of fan hatred, but should be fun.
Yeah, I want those young kids for Arizona to just really run the bases well and do something great. So everybody's playing today for the 4th series.
Maybe
Maybe everyone. Sunday will be the American League Series. Monday will be the National League Series for Game 2s. And then Tuesday will be, this is an odd schedule here, but Game 3s of the AL will be on Tuesday only. On Wednesday, everybody's playing. Thursday, only the National League Series is playing. Friday, only the American League Series. Saturday, only the National League, if we all get there. So,
yeah,
just depends how
that's
these
a weird
series
lineup of days and times and.
go. But I don't think they want to put everything together like it is today. I think they want to spread it out, of course, and make it simple, I guess, for everyone. The American League plays this day, National League plays this day. I guess it makes it easier. It makes it easier to cover, I would guess. So Chris Bacon, let's get to some news. Again, Bradford is at it. Not Chad Bradford, but for the Rangers.
Not Sam Bradford either.
Not Sam Bradford either. And I saw Bradford. He started against the Angels. He's decent, or at least the Angels made him decent. But Cody Bradford will be on that roster instead of Scherzer. I was looking at the managerial changes for the teams that are out there so far, and I want to go through those because there were not surprises, but kind of some shock value that came with them. With San Francisco and the Giants, Gabe Kapler was not brought back in San Francisco, and there were some issues going on at the end of the season. there was a stretch, I believe, the Giants in September went at first. I believe they were 9-18, and they ended up, losing their wild card spot, just petering out basically. And then they had a really bad second half in a way. They really really collapsed. And the bad part is in which Kapler, he's had issues with his players before, like taking out the pitchers. They would either, yell at him coming off the mound. This time, the jokester of the team, Chris, one of the pitchers, and this was when they were eliminated the night before, so they were already out of it. And remind you, they already had a bad September where they just collapsed. And the pitcher basically hid the ball in his back pocket. He wouldn't give Gabe Kapler the ball right away. Like, that's cool and all if you're, in the postseason, you clinched already, it's all good, right? But it's the total opposite. And it's not a good look because you've lost the locker room. You're letting things happen like this unprofessionally. And you have a history of going to the mound and having issues where you have to go deal with it in the clubhouse. It's so, you can't let that happen. I know Kapler, he's been a great manager, at least. Well, not great, but he led him to the playoffs in 21 when they shouldn't have been there. In Philly, it was pretty much a one and done situation. It felt like they just didn't have the talent like they do now in Philadelphia. But he has all these coaches, and you would have thought, okay, they're going to do well. But that didn't happen in San Francisco down the line or down the way of the season. I mean, they weren't suspected to do much anyway this season, but they were in it a long time to tell yourself they should have been in it. Remember the Giants? They wanted to go out and sign some free agents in the offseason and couldn't. They didn't really make any big moves at the trade deadline either. So this was one of those years they're playing with house money. But it was that incident, with the pitcher hiding the ball and Gabe Kapler, going with it, smiling, but knowing that, hey, this could get me fired. And it did. He kind of shied away from it after, but it just looked really, really bad. So what were your thoughts when you saw Gabe Kapler getting fired by the Giants?
I know a lot of, I don't know a lot of people, but I've seen a lot of people complaining that they should fire the coach or the manager, I should say. They should, hire this person, that person. I think it was kind of a foregone conclusion, and this was early on in the season, maybe a month or two into it. I think the writing was on the wall that this could have been his last season.
All right, so the New York Mets, they fired Buck Showalter. I didn't think that was going to happen, honestly. I know that was going to maybe be the case, but not this year or next year. But they underperformed, and they traded whoever they could, basically, at the end at the end of the season. Or, I'm sorry, at the trade deadline. They ended up being whoever they had left. That was kind of a shock to me, but they have a new president with David Stearns, and then abruptly the GM resigns, Billy Epler, amid a reported probe and alleged misuse of an injured list. We didn't know why he suddenly resigned yesterday or 2 days ago, but he did. So the Mets are going through a lot of changes. They'll probably get a great. We'll talk about Craig Counsell. He could possibly go to the Mets as a manager, but it was really shocking to see what the Mets have done. But what do you think about Buck Showalter? You know, the manager. You remember him managing the Rangers
Mhm.
a while back, and
Yeah, I
you
mean,
know he's got all these kids playing in New York now, and then he gets fired basically after the deadline, in which, and it was a horrible season. They had high expectations, but it just never
when
came
and
through, and
you
it started
traded
right
two of
away.
your top players or sent them off in DeGrom and Scherzer
Yeah. Or well, yeah, Verlander was the
and
other one
Verlander.
that
Yeah.
was traded at the deadline with Scherzer. They lost the ground, and that was probably a good decision though that they did that. But they're
Mhm.
paying a lot. They're paying a lot for Verlander, Scherzer not to be on the team, which is crazy. Um, it's amazing how much money the Mets have spent on players, and then on Showalter, and then it's over after that. The other manager that was not brought back, and this was his last year anyway on his deal. It was Phil Nevin of the Angels, and I can tell you from my you know dealings with him and watching him manage, he made some horrible decisions. I mean, some bonehead decisions. And felt like though he came in after Joe Madden was let go last year of the Angels, and he was said to like bring his own style, toughness, and all that, but he never showed that. And then he blamed the analytical people for the team not doing well. He called them, basically like nerd monkeys at the meeting yesterday or a couple of days ago when he got the news basically that it wasn't coming back. It was ugly this year for the Angels, and you just knew he was going to come back after this year. It was going to take if they won the World Series, it was going to take that for him to come back. Honestly, so with Phil Nevin, it's good that he won't be back. Excuse me. He was a bad third base coach for the Yankees before. Excuse me, and then he was brought in for the Joe Madden um, uh, coaching staff. So now, okay, I don't know where the Angels go from here. I want Ron Washington from the Braves, but I don't know if he wants to coach again, manage again. Buck Showalter could be a name out there the Angels go after. But there's a lot of questions now with Phil Nevin and how he handled the team. Will he ever be a manager again? I doubt it. But being a division foe, not a rival. We're
Right.
not rivals. That it's a
No.
one-sided affair, kind of. Even though the season series, I think Texas won it by a game, but never felt like we were close to Texas this year. But what did you think of Phil Nevin? Like all the stories you heard, um, what did you think about that change
Yeah.
with the Angels?
I mean, he had a good few seasons there, but uh, I guess it's time to I guess separate. But it's gonna be interesting who they bring in. I don't know who would you possibly bring in. Maybe Washington, he kind of knows Texas a little bit. I mean, he did coach there, but totally different system and all that now. But there's some similarities or familiar faces probably. So that could be
Definitely.
a higher form.
And like I mentioned, Craig Counsell, this was his final year with the Brewers. I don't know if they bring him back. He's been there a while. I think they can only get to where they've gone. They can't get any further. Eventually, they have to part ways with Yelich, and I think Greg Counsell, he probably ends up with the Mets, but the Mets are going to be a mess too. I know they want to reload like the Angels do, but they're missing pieces, and then it seems like the Angels and Mets, they're intertwined with one another. They try to spend. They have a bigger team in the market, always above them. It feels like they're gonna try to overspend and get better, but they probably will fail in that case. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with Council probably going to the Mets, and then after that, I don't really know any other managerial changes that are gonna happen because it should have happened already. And then with John Snyder with the Blue Jays, I think they'll keep him there despite what happened with the pitching change. But again, that was the analytical people telling him to do that. It wasn't him. So we all have to remember that. The other teams, with Aaron Boone, you would have thought he would have been fired with the Yankees. With
Yeah.
the season they had. I don't know if they're waiting. I don't know what is going on, but that's another manager out there. Do you have another manager out there you would think that would be on the hot seat or fired?
I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't say fired, but I can't think of our manager at the moment. But he could step down if maybe really successful. I don't know.
I can throw out some names looking
Not
at the
hearing
teams.
that, but
Alex Cora with the Red Sox. They didn't have the year. I mean, they had a surprise year when you think about it. They actually, were in the wild card series in the spot for a while. Then they fell out like the Angels kind of did, but a little bit less.
yeah.
They were expected to do much, so I don't see them parting ways with Cora. Pedro Griflo with the White Sox, they had a bad season this year. It felt like if they could get anybody bigger and better, they probably will do that. But it's only his first year with the White Sox. We know Terry Francona, retired basically with the Guardians in Cleveland. I know we went through that on Sports Minute, so we know he will be gone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure who's going to be the Cleveland new manager, but it'd probably be someone, off the rail. You don't really know who it is. Kansas City, right? Kansas City, you knew was going to have a bad year. Council's leaving Milwaukee for sure. Showalter, that's an open book there. The A's, we have one guy always talking about the A's, and with Mark Kotsay possibly getting fired, but the team was going to be bad anyway. But they did lose 11 more games than they were supposed to, or where they did last year. So somehow they actually got worse. But then again, their whole roster is basically gutted. Pirates are fine with Shelton. I think they were close enough to have them competing. Again, Bob Melvin will be back with the Padres. I know that's one of the surprising, not surprising keepers of managers, but, just the way that season went. Seattle with their manager, I think, will be back. Who am I thinking? Service. St. Louis with, what's his name? I don't know. I would have fired him by now, but the Cardinals have just lost their way. It felt like, so I don't know what the Cardinals. I think Tampa Bay's manager is safe. The Rangers, of course, are good. Washington with Dave Martinez. I feel like they had an okay season. and they signed him to an extension. It was kind of a shock too. I guess he's been there a while, and they didn't want to change things, and they knew they were not going to win basically. And when you have that, you just want sustainability. So that's all the managers I could think of, and then all the other spots are out there waiting to get new hires. That's gonna be fun to figure out. I guess we'll close out here, but again, game one of the ALDS delayed by rain. They have the tarp out there. Some players are out there warming up and trying to run around, and they don't have a time, but it looks like it's starting to clear up just a little bit. So maybe in another hour, maybe we'll have game one start there in Baltimore. Not really sure. It just says delayed start. Chris, if you have anything else, or you want to go to final thoughts?
I don't have anything else. I just hope it's a good playoff series to come. Hopefully the Rangers can start on time, because every minute they sit and wait is probably longer time for rust out there, and that's not good. Waiting's the hard part, and it can delay everything.
Especially for the starting pitchers.
Yeah.
That's the worst part. Once you get past an hour, once you go into the second hour of waiting when you already should be out there warming up and all that, you get a little anxious. And everything you prepared for, you have to delay that too. So, and your arm will be different. So expect the bullpens to be taxed this game. Again, the Rangers, they led the American League in runs, average, OPS, home runs this season. Somehow not. I think RBIs probably went to the Rays or maybe the Orioles, but it's always a bad thing when, especially in the postseason, when you have weather and starting pitchers. Orioles, they have everything. So they have indoor facilities where they can, swing away, and if the pitcher needs to warm up, you either go out to the bullpen like the road team would, or you throw inside. Who knows? But that's the advantage of having a home game during the rain delay. I think we'll close it here. We'll give our final thoughts. Chris, you have any?
Thanks everyone for watching. Tune in morning tailgates tomorrow. A lot of NFL stuff going on. Big deal was signed earlier. We'll talk about that, and just enjoy your Saturday with a bunch of sports and baseball.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna do that. I gotta figure out now what college games are on, and then hopefully I'll be up for the morning tailgate. Remember, we have a London game.
We do.
6:30 my time, 8:30 your time, between Jacksonville and Buffalo. Jacksonville already, stayed over there. That's the first time they've done that ever, where a team plays two games. Yeah. We'll see definitely if Buffalo will be not as fresh as the Jags should be. Let's just say that. We'll end it here. Again, thank you for everybody for commenting and watching. We'll see you next time on Deck, and hopefully everything will be cut and dry, literally, next week. So we'll see you next time on Deck here on Coast to Coast Network. Again, Entertainment Network. Check out all the shows, and then we'll have new shows coming as well, programs that everybody will enjoy. Everyone take care. Thanks for watching.